In young Sheldon, Connie Tucker, better known as Meemaw, is one of the most alive characters in the entire show. She is reckless, confident, sarcastic, charming, romantic, and somehow still one of the only people Sheldon truly trusts. She gambles, drinks, dates, breaks rules, and refuses to act like the sweet, harmless grandmother everyone expects. But then you watch The Big Bang Theory, and when Meemaw finally appears, something feels different. She is still funny, still sharp, still protective of Sheldon, but she is colder, more guarded, more suspicious, especially when it comes to Amy. So the real question is not just, why is Meemaw different? The real question is, what happened to Connie Tucker? Because young Sheldon does not just show us a younger Meemaw. It shows us the version of her before life fully hardened her. Connie is almost the opposite of the rest of the Cooper family. Mary is anxious, religious, and constantly trying to keep everyone in line. George is tired and underappreciated. Georgie wants to be treated like a man. Missy wants to be seen, and Sheldon is Sheldon. But Meemaw is different. She walks into the chaos and refuses to be consumed by it. She does not care about looking perfect, being respectable, or pretending life is cleaner than it actually is. In a family full of pressure, Meemaw represents freedom. She is not perfect. She is impulsive. She can be selfish. She makes terrible decisions. But she is also one of the few characters who seems genuinely comfortable being herself. That is why Sheldon loves her so much. Meemaw does something very few people in Sheldon's childhood can do. She accepts him without constantly trying to fix him. Mary loves Sheldon, but her love is protective and often controlling. George tries to understand him, but does not always know how. Missy sees through him, but is constantly hurt by the attention Sheldon gets. Georgie usually just tolerates the weirdness. But Meemaw lets Sheldon be strange. She does not always understand him, but she does not need him to become normal before she loves him. To the rest of the world, Sheldon is difficult. To Meemaw, he is her moon pie. And that nickname matters. Because when adult Sheldon talks about Meemaw in The Big Bang Theory, there is a softness there he rarely shows. For someone who struggles with affection and vulnerability, his love for Meemaw is unusually direct. She is one of the few people from his childhood who made him feel safe. But the tragedy of Connie Tucker is that she was never as untouchable as she seemed. For most of young Sheldon, Meemaw acts like nothing can break her. She jokes through pain. She flirts through loneliness. She gambles, drinks, and mouths off like consequences are something that happened to other people. But underneath that confidence, life keeps chipping away at her. Her romantic life is unstable. Her relationship with Dale is funny, but messy. Her illegal gambling room gives her independence, but also brings danger and humiliation. Her house gets destroyed. Her family is constantly in crisis. And even when she is not the center of the problem, she is almost always nearby, absorbing the damage. That is the thing about Meemaw. She is so good at seeming fine that nobody treats her like someone who needs help. Everyone leans on her. Mary needs her. Sheldon needs her. Missy needs her. Georgie needs her. Even when they fight with her, they still expect her to be strong, sharp, funny, and available. But being the tough one does not mean you are not being hurt. It just means people notice it less. And then comes the event that changes the entire Cooper family, George's death. Even though Meemaw and George do not always have the warmest relationship, his death still matters deeply to her story. George was part of the family structure. He was Mary's husband, the father of her grandchildren, and one of the people holding that chaotic household together. When George dies, the Cooper family does not just lose a person, they lose an era. Mary becomes more consumed by grief and faith. Missy becomes angrier and more lost. Georgie has to grow up even faster. Sheldon leaves for Caltech, and Meemaw is left watching the family she spent years orbiting permanently fracture. That matters because by the time we see her in The Big Bang Theory, she is no longer just the fun, rebellious grandmother from Texas. She is older, more protective, more suspicious, more hardened, and suddenly, her behavior toward Amy makes more sense. When Meemaw meets Amy, she questions her, challenges her, and makes it clear that Amy has to prove she is good enough for Sheldon. At first, it seems unfair. Amy has been patient with Sheldon in ways almost nobody else could be. But after young Sheldon, you can understand where that harshness comes from. Meemaw watched Sheldon grow up misunderstood by almost everyone. She saw how fragile he could be underneath the arrogance. She knew that behind the big brain and condescending comments was a kid who did not really know how to handle pain, change, rejection, or love. So when Amy enters the picture, Meemaw does not just see Sheldon's girlfriend. She sees someone with the power to hurt her moon pie. That does not mean Meemaw is completely right. She's probably too hard on Amy. But her reaction is not random. It comes from years of protecting Sheldon, and maybe from years of losing things herself. Because the older Meemaw is not colder because she stopped caring. She is colder because she cares too much, and by that point, caring has cost her. That is what makes her transformation so interesting. Young Sheldon shows us a woman who wants freedom. She wants love, fun, excitement, independence, and control over her own life. She wants to be more than someone's mother or grandmother. But life keeps pulling her back into responsibility. She becomes the emergency contact for everyone else's chaos. She shows up, bails people out, protects Sheldon, supports Mary, comforts the kids, and somehow still acts like none of it is wearing her down. Over time, that changes a person. The Meemaw in The Big Bang Theory is not a completely different character. She is what happens when the wildest person in the family survives long enough to become guarded. The attitude is still there. The sarcasm is still there. The love for Sheldon is still there. But the softness is harder to see. And that is why Connie Tucker's story is sadder than people realize. She did not become bitter because she was cruel. She became sharper because life taught her that softness was dangerous. She did not protect Sheldon because she thought he was perfect. She protected him because she knew he wasn't. That is the real difference between young Meemaw and old Meemaw. Young Meemaw acts fearless because she wants to live freely. Old Meemaw acts fearless because she has already lost too much. So when people ask what happened to Meemaw, the answer is not that The Big Bang Theory got her wrong or that young Sheldon changed her too much. The answer is that Connie Tucker lived. She loved people. She lost people. She made mistakes. She survived embarrassment, heartbreak, family collapse, and grief. And somewhere along the way, the woman who once represented freedom became someone who protected what little she had left. That is what makes Meemaw more than just the funny grandma. She is the reminder that even the strongest people in a family are still being shaped by everything they carry. And once you understand that, her appearance in The Big Bang Theory feels different. She is not just older, she is not just meaner, she is not just overprotective. She is Connie Tucker after the damage. And suddenly, Meemaw's story stops being a joke. It becomes one of the quietest tragedies in the entire Cooper family.